I'm Leanne Tran, psychologist who's worked with families whose kids don't fit the mould for almost 20 years. I've worked with children for decades, but I know parents are the real change makers when it comes to their kids. Having 3 kids of my own means I know it's not easy. Parent Like a Psychologist is all about simplifying how you support your kids with psychology information filtered through years of experience to take you from overwhelmed to confident. Come on in. I think that sounds awesome, and I advocate for a lot of that too, where I call them visual supports, but it's really a list so that your kids can be independent in doing the stuff you want them to do. And it's almost like you as the CEO of the family have given them then a job description for what their duties are in the morning so that they can fulfill their part, which leaves you to be able to think more bigger picture about, what you're doing in the day, coordinating everybody's schedules and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and coming back to that coordinating schedules, that is something I try and have a set up and simplify Sunday. So a lot of people talk about set me up Sundays, taking some time to do the planning of what needs to happen for the family in the week ahead. For us, that looks like my husband and I sitting down and having a chat about what's the important things happening on the farm this week, what's happening in my employee and work life, what are the time critical things that we need to be able to do, and who's taking charge of the kids on those times. We have bus drop-offs and pickups, and they're not waiting for us to get there, and agreeing who is taking ownership over those things, where we're moving kids around for after sport activities. And I think we can fall into the default that comes down to the mum's job, but what support systems do we have around us? Can we call in friends to take the lead, and you take a group of kids one week and the other mum takes them the other time? We're grateful that our football and netball club, being in the country, they pick our kids up from school and take them to sports practice. And then my husband is the one that goes to Thursday sports practice because he is staying around after for his own football practice as well. So as a mum, I can, fall into that thing that I need to be there because I'm a mum. But when we stop, focus, notice, and manage our time, he is responsible for winter sport, getting the kids to and from football and netball practice. And then I take more of a lead for tennis practice in summer. So that clear, calm communication. So not having these discussions when it's like, I'm doing everything and everyone's a bit more grumpy, but having that time to plan out each week on a Sunday, who's doing what meals are we planning to have, what food do we need to buy to make it happen, who's taking the lead on different household tasks, and where's the fun in our week? How have we planned in some exercise and self-care for my husband and I, and having some family fun across the whole week? And we've just started having a game of Uno before we go to bed. So everyone, because there's no TV, the kids are a little bit more bored. So it has a win-win that we end up having a game or two of Uno, everyone's sitting on our master bed, those side conversations happen, the competitiveness comes out in who's going to win, but it allows for those micro moments of fun into our week as well, because there's more to life than work and cleaning.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that idea of doing it on the weekend when everybody's calm. Like you mentioned, you're not already feeling resentful or irritated, but also there's no time pressure either. Because if those conversations are happening in the morning about, "Oh, what do you have today? Are you getting them or am I getting them?" It's way more difficult, isn't it? When you're in a
100%.
rush.
Yeah, and we get the kids to take ownership over their school notes and things like that as well.
Right.
They are at that age where they come home from school, and when they're unpacking their bag, they're taking those things out. And for us, the strategy that's worked is we have a buffet in our lounge room, in our dining room, that used to hold all the platters and the extra cutlery from when we had dinner parties pre-kids with all the fancy stuff. And we decluttered that, and that's where the kids' school bags go. But when I looked at the space, we can have 2 clipboards on the inside of the door so that each kid has 2 A4 spots where they can hang their important school documents that they'll see every morning and afternoon when they open up their cupboard, but it takes it off our fridge
Mm.
and empowers them to be able to see it and know what's happening. So here in South Australia, we have a Premier's Reading Challenge. So that's been sitting there. If they have an upcoming excursion and need to know what they need to bring, they pop that there. Obviously, all those details are also in my online calendar, which my husband can see as well. But it's empowering them to take ownership over looking after what needs to be done. And yes, again, 80% of the time it works fine. 20% of the time there'll be those, oh, whoops, we're supposed to have had crazy hair today. But if we can
Yep.
plan to be organized 80% of the time, that's a win.
I agree. And I think too, what you're talking about builds a lot of resilience for kids as well, because when they feel competent at things, they are resilient. They feel like they can take ownership of things and do things for themselves. And I think, um, well, would you agree? You're nodding like you've seen that with your kids as well.
And I suppose that does come back to my professional career as well. I have worked in some engagement and wellbeing strategies and some research around wellbeing and positive psychology. So my background is actually food science and technology. So I've
Mm,
always had that scientific brain wanting to have things proved that they're effective. So I've definitely maybe embedded some of those strategies from my work life into my personal life as well. And I also think it's important to allow kids to fail safely. Like we're not going to let them
yeah,
go driving a car. But if they do forget to bring a sports uniform or forget to pack their lunch, there is safety strategies in school that they won't go starving. But it is a
yeah,
reminder that I'm not going to be driving in to drop off lunch because you've forgotten your lunch. You'll need to learn how to manage it and go to the wellbeing officer and get a Vegemite sandwich to tide you over. But you're less likely to do that going forward in the future.
yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking when you mentioned the crazy hair day, that sometimes forgetting that stuff is that builds resilience as well. But also, I think if kids feel generally resilient, those things don't hit them as hard either. They don't seem like such a big deal when they've forgotten one thing.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
where looking at the week ahead and on the Sunday, seeing what's coming up can help you plan for those things going forward as well.
Mm. So, do you have a couple of top tips that you give families when they're just starting out with these things? What advice do you have?
Taking that time to stop, focus, notice is a big one, but also
Mm,
remembering we're all busy, but I truly believe we can find 1% of our day, which is those 14.4 minutes, to make a change in our life. And potentially I love the idea of as a family, everyone's moving things around the home and things are going out of whack. We try and do a house reset, and it can happen anytime, but we intentionally try and do it on a Sunday afternoon and
hmm.
popping 5 songs on Spotify for about a 15 minutes with a 15-minute timer and everyone racing around the house. And if they see something in a room that's not supposed to be there, picking it up and taking it to where it belongs. So by the end of 15 minutes, with 4 people doing that, technically there's been an hour spent resetting the house, but each
Mm,
individual person has only spent 15 minutes of their personal time doing that. And a lot of families, the mum is doing that for an hour while everyone else relaxes. But I
yeah.
believe we should all work together to make that happen. So then everyone has 45 minutes to do whatever they want. And maybe it's some family fun, playing a board game, yeah, or having some TV time or social media scrolling. But everyone has made that mess. So let's all work together to tidy it up. And another tool that helps with that is a laundry basket. So walk around a space, grab everything that's not meant to be in that room, pop it in the laundry basket, move to the next room, put the things that belong in that room away, grab the next things. So by the time you've gone around all those rooms, everything has been popped back in the correct spot.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Music to make it fun, and everyone takes a bit of responsibility. And then there's that the reward is earning more time to do what each individual wants to do.
And I do
Mm.
believe when we've got a timer going, we seem to move a little bit faster as well. So
Yeah.
chasing that clock and trying to get everything done. And obviously there's some times that the motivation is dropping for some people, but if everyone's doing it, it's normally better that everyone keeps charging through, and it's 1% pocket of your day doing that to keep tidy. Another one is taking the time to reset the kitchen area within a 24-hour period. And then it's stop,
Hmm.
focus, notice when the best time for your family is. So I like to be able to go to bed and with a clean kitchen and wake up to a clean space. I get up earlier than the rest of my family, but maybe for you, it's you can clean it up in the morning. And
Hmm.
sometimes I will do that on my own. Sometimes my husband will do that on his own. Sometimes the four of us will do it. Sometimes the kids will do it. But as a family, 80% of the time, we aim to have that kitchen reset before everyone goes to bed. And it's just a clear space that gets used multiple times a day, but at least
Yeah.
it's clear once within a 24-hour period.
Yep. I feel like that's really hit home today in school holidays in my state because, yeah, once you have, I've got three kids, so it's five of us, leaving out a couple of things each. That's it. It's all it takes to make it absolute chaos. So, yeah, taking the time to reset's awesome.
And many times we try and do it after breakfast as well, but if things have got a bit busy, I'm more than happy to leave the kitchen bench with stuff on it. We just make sure the stuff that needs to go back in the fridge is in there, but we
Yep.
know it's going to be clear by the end of the day.
Mm. And so is that how you encourage people to use those 1% pockets or time pockets, is just to think about intentionally what they can spend um, that time on, or is there more system to it than that?
I also encourage people to think about how they are getting their house tidy. Previously and particularly early with kids, we would try and, well, before kids, we'd spend Saturday cleaning the whole house, getting the 4 loads plus of washing done. And we
Mm,
noticed that we spent the whole weekend tidying. So, what we do is, and I encourage my clients and people I'm working with to see what needs to be done in your home and break it down into 15-minute pockets of time. So, I know you then won't have a whole house perfectly clean, but realistically, it's probably only going to, a whole house will only stay clean for 5 minutes with
yep,
kids, anyhow. So, we
yep,
break down cleaning rooms into 15-minute blocks. So, it's maybe the office on a Monday morning and the toy room on a Monday night or the kids' room on a Thursday morning. So, you've got 15 minutes. Again, set a timer, chuck some music on if you want, and get that space tidied and a bit of declutter if you've got some spare minutes in that 15 minutes. But it just means that we're aiming to have the whole house having 15 minutes spent on it Monday to Friday morning. So then we've got the weekend to do things that we enjoy. And to do that, I do believe reducing that TV and social media time during the week enables that to happen a bit more smoothly. But that's a compromise I'm willing to make so we can get all the stuff done during the week to free up the weekend. But again, it's working out what strategy would work for your family in your season of life. Working
yeah,
out maybe there's a bigger block on one day, you might do a 2% pocket of your day, a half an hour doing a couple of rooms on a Monday because you're taking kids to sports practice all Tuesday night and you've got no time there. So it's being intentional with understanding what's happening in your family in the week ahead and making sure you can get to those spaces at least on a fortnightly basis. I'm also realistic that sometimes things happen and you don't get to it. But if you've
yeah.
got a plan in place that you're spending 15 minutes weekly or fortnightly, you can really make an impact. And that's how I also encourage people to start decluttering those spaces, a
Hmm.
shelf at a time, a drawer at a time. Yeah, one section of a room, because in a year's time, those 1% pockets will add up to massive change.
Yeah, yep. That's fantastic. And do you have a schedule of when you're going to do each thing somewhere visual so that people know what they need to help with?
Yeah, so we use a daily orders weekly board in our pantry to see where we're moving and what's happening in our household. That's also got a meal plan of what we're planning to have each night. They do juggle around on what actually day we eat a meal, but at least it's written down and we can
Yep.
have on there who's doing what cleaning task wise. But I also have it in my Google Calendar, so I get a little
Hmm.
reminder there, but we're quite embedded in it now that it's quite normal that people know what's happening. But when people are
Yeah.
starting, reminders in phones, having it on the fridge of what tasks need to be done on what day and who's taking the lead on that task would be a good way to start. And before we talked about being CEO of the household, and from my project manager life in business, I think there's many tweaks we can make and use in our personal lives as well. We talk about standard operating procedures or SOPs in our work life. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's having a piece of paper above the washing machine that says, for school clothes, we wash it on cycle 30 minutes, which looks like this symbol. We turn the temperature on this degrees and like that. So you can break it down and have it above the area to avoid the questions being asked to you all the time. So what's some strategies that work in your work life that you can adapt and apply in your home life as well?
That's fantastic. You've got me really motivated now. My family better watch out.
And I would encourage you to make 1% changes in your family's life over time. We don't want to flip everything overnight, but continue to stop, focus, notice. What's the biggest pain point right now? And how can you help everyone take some ownership and get it done simpler? And maybe it is actually outsourcing some of the cleaning. Ironically, I spent the first 15 years of my life with my husband. We've been together 19 years now. We did the household task, and in the early days, I did a bit more. And then I lost it over mopping. I do not enjoy mopping our floors. And I said, I'm over it. I've done it for so many years. You are now responsible for getting our floors mopped once a week. And he did that for the next 6 months and realized
Okay.
how crap of a job it was. And he
Right.
was the one that found us a cleaner for 2 hours a fortnight. So I can't believe it took me 15 years to adjust our budget to make the space to have someone coming in and doing those deep clean areas of the showers and the toilets and things like that. So I would encourage, is there some outsourcing we can do within our home? And when I'm super busy in my work life, I'll use a meal planning service and I'll pay a little bit extra for a week and have a company deliver dinners for us to simplify it. And it does require adjusting our budget to make that happen, but that's a compromise I'm willing to make to keep my sanity going.
Yeah, yep, I agree. Because, like you said, it's about being able to let go some of that mental load and the stress that we all carry for a general well-being and enjoyment of life.
Yeah.
It's almost like that meal plan or getting the meals delivered thing seems to me representative of some other conversations we've had where things won't always be 100% right and running smoothly. And so sometimes there'll be yelling, sometimes there'll be mess, and sometimes there'll be times when you don't cook because it's too busy. So allowing or accepting a little bit of that, you know, I don't know, what will you call it? Imperfection maybe is a
Yeah.
good thing.
There's a great book called Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu, and she redefines what dropping the ball means. We think of it as a negative connotation, but her terminology is dropping the ball is releasing the unrealistic expectations of doing it all and engaging
Right.
others to achieve what matters most, which really enriches our relationships. So we cannot physically juggle all these balls. And what are your glass balls? What are your plastic balls? Which ones can we drop for a little bit? And stop aiming for the Instagram perfectionism and talk to your family about what you want your life to look like. We don't need a perfect house. We don't need the fancy cars. What we truly want is that time and connection with the people that we love. So let's let go of those expectations and do what works for our family.
Yeah. I can't think of a better thing to end on. That's a fantastic summary statement. Yeah.
And it's
Um,
hard. It's hard to do that, but you can take those baby steps and you can think about this for 1% of your day. What does your version of a decluttered life look like? What does it feel like? What do you want to be spending more of your time doing? And make it happen.
yeah, definitely. So if parents do want to make it happen, how can they, what different ways can they kind of connect with you and work with you on achieving this goal?
I love sharing lots of free tips on Instagram. That's my favorite place to hang out on social media. So be.simplyfree, so be.simplyfree on Instagram. There's lots of tips there. I can work privately one-on-one with clients. I'm really about making that long-term habit change. So we work together fortnightly over 3 months to make that happen. And there's also a group online course and membership called Be Simply Free Forever. So you'll get access to my past course called Clear Clutter Find Time. And then each month we have a masterclass focus and a little challenge and 2 opportunities for Q&A sessions with me in that private group to keep you going. This month is actually about making time to have fun and how we can find those small pockets in our day, week, month, and planning for those annual holidays. So that's our focus at the moment in July. And there's been some past ones about that financial declutter and ways to save over $1,000 in a month by making some changes. So it's all about taking the time to stop, focus, notice, which is going to free up your time, money, and reduce your mental load. So besimplyfree.com.au is where you can find out all the information about that, or just send me a DM on Instagram.
Excellent. It sounds great. So really using that 1% better each time, or not better, but making 1% of a change each time in service of whatever your goals are, have more free time to spend on the things that you enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I learned a lot and am inspired, so I'm sure lots of other parents listening will be as well. So I really appreciate it, and we'll definitely go and check out some more of your free tips and have a look at your website.
Yes, and encourage people, if you come up with a strategy that's working for you, tag me in an Instagram story. I would love to see what's happening in your life.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Parent Like a Psychologist. If you found it helpful, please share on Instagram so other parents can benefit too, and tag me at Leanne Tran Psychology so that I can say a big thank you. Head over to leannetran.com.au to join the village for bite-sized psychology tips straight to your inbox. I really hope this podcast has brought a new perspective and you a step closer towards a calm parent and a thriving child. Have a delightful day.